Shohei Ohtani had another loud homer last night. Walker Buehler returned. Alec Vesia got the save. We'll hit those issues. Well, along with, is it another big FAAB week? Who are Fred's top 5 must pick up guys for 6 days from now? Stay tuned on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie. Big thanks to our sponsors. They are Prize Picks, of course, and now Home Run Forecast joins us again for another run on the podcast. We appreciate their sponsorship. We're going to jump right into it. Shohei Ohtani hit another loud home run last night, his 11th homer of the year. He had 2 stolen bases. Boy, that arm's really holding him back. Oh, wait, I'm the one that said that he was going to hold him back. My bad. Oopsies.
Yeah, I think it was Sammy Reid who posted on Twitter, like, why do we do this every year with Ohtani? Maybe it's not every year, but it feels like a lot of years. And I do it, so I'm to blame too, where we underrate Ohtani. We don't draft him in the top half of the first round. And then he goes out and, like, look at what he's done. Like, he's got, in the last 3 years going into this year, he's got 2 years with more than 40 homers and at least 20 steals. And then this year, we'll see where it goes, but he's already got 11 home runs. So that puts him first in baseball. That's pretty good. And 9 steals puts him in the top 10. So, he's already looking like he was probably should have been drafted. He's already had 31 runs scored in 36 games. And we saw this all coming with the Dodgers lineup. I know he's hitting 370, which, like, is not probably going to last or anything near it. He's got a 406 BABIP, but still, I think we undervalue Ohtani a little bit now this year. Now, I know that, like, maybe, I guess it was the arm this year that made me push him down a little bit. I think I had him around 14 or 15. It wasn't the gambling thing because I had him in the same spot before all that came around.
You are a better man than I am. I am Albert the Butler. I have let you down, and I am sorry. I originally had him at 12 or 13 or something like that, but I did more like reading into players returning from elbow surgery, similar to Tommy John. I know his internal bracing for him. I saw Bryce Harper last year, very similar procedure, and not hit for power when he came back. Ohtani might have had his surgery a month or 2 earlier, but Harper missed the first month of the season last year. And then we saw Harper tear it up late. Well, I thought Ohtani would follow a similar path, and he did for 8 games, and he hit a bunch of doubles in that too. Even still, I'm so wrong, and I probably steered it maybe a person or 2 away. I think most people said, on the other hand, that they were not heeding that advice, and I hope they didn't. I don't have any Ohtani in any of my 14 managed teams. I don't have him anywhere, Fred. Main event, I wasn't going to take him 1, so that's not really where it bothers me so much. But there are other chances where I could have had him later and didn't. And I'm paying for it now because he is awesome. It's fun to watch this Dodgers top 4. They just keep rolling it over, that lineup. Just being there in person, watching them, you kind of emphasize it's like, oh, Mookie's up again. Oh, Ohtani's up again. Good grief. It's the 3rd time in 4 innings they're up. And every time, hard contact. It's crazy how good they are.
It is. Yeah, they've definitely, like, the top half of that lineup, like you just said, is so good. And then they've, like, adding Teoscar Hernandez in the middle, like Teoscar Hernandez and Muncy in the middle, like, those are 2 guys who can take you deep at any time. And then, like, having them kind of right behind the studs, I think that's really lengthened the lineup, and it pushes guys like James Outman, who's off to a poor start this season, but did homer last night, and
yes, he did.
Probably will come around. It pushes those guys down into, like, the bottom 3, and that makes your lineups just so dangerous. Pitchers, by the time they get down there, they're running on fumes, and right, they still have to face some pretty decent hitters. I can't say it's the best lineup in baseball, because when the Braves fully get rolling, I still think that's the best lineup in baseball. But the Dodgers could easily finish this season first in runs and first in OPS, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
they could. They very well could. Teoscar hit a ball that just landed. It was just an impressive display, and that's just the thing. There, Muncy will have a 3 homer game or a homer game here and there. You look and see, Andy Pages has had some big at bats already so far for them. It's just crazy. I mean, they got rid of Chris Taylor in the lineup, and that was like their one dead spot in the lineup. When your catcher is your cleanup hitter too, just shows just what a good deep lineup this is, and how easy it is to buffer it too, because you don't have to replace a scarce position.
Yeah, having the catcher who can hit cleanup is like so valuable, because it just gives you, like, as the season goes on, when the trade deadline comes, like if they do need to replace a player, it just makes it so much easier to find. Like you're not going to find a great hitting catcher at the trade deadline. You know, you're going to find a guy who can play good defense, but that's it. So if the Dodgers were to need an outfielder by the deadline, if they were to decide by the deadline maybe that they wanted to replace Gavin Lux or something like that, then they could do that. But
yeah, Lux is the dead spot. I forgot about him. And we were talking about this actually at the game. I went with Scott Jenstead, Vlad Sedler, and Jeff Biddle, and we were talking about that yes, Lux is the resting spot in this
right
lineup
now.
here. Yeah,
very, very dead. 457 OPS so far this year, but it's almost like the lineup's just so good that it only kind of matters. But it would be so easy for them to find an infielder if they want to do that, and they can still.
Well, they have Miguel Rojas. They could just play him.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. They could play Rojas more. If they decide at some point that he would just be less of a dead spot, he would still be a dead spot in comparison to everyone else. But if he could just be a 700 OPS guy, 680 OPS guy, something like that. But it certainly means that they'll be able to probably, if they want at the trade deadline, put their resources into, I would assume, their bullpen. Maybe their rotation if injuries hit. But when you think that they already have Glass now, Buehler's working his way back, they have Yamamoto, Kershaw is going to come back. Like, they're getting pitchers back. Bobby Miller will be back. I think they can put their money into their bullpen at the deadline.
Yeah, Joe Kelly's on the IL. They just got Blake Trinan back. They just lost Evan Phillips, unfortunately, though. Ryan Brazier's hurt. Yeah, Gratterall's out long term. Yeah, it's bullpen where I'd see them making any sort of adjustments if necessary. That lineup's so sick that they can afford to carry one dead spot like that.
Yeah, and it would be so easy to augment their bullpen in the sense that they already have Phillips, so they don't need to go out and get like an ace closer. Like Phillips is an ace closer, so they just could go out and get 2 or 3 arms that won't cost them elite prospects.
Right.
That won't cost them mass amounts of money. Not that they don't have money, but it won't cost them mass amounts of money. But they should be able to do that.
Right. Yeah. Walker Buehler made his return last night through 77 pitches, only got through 4 innings. The good news, though, velocity was still the same. It was like 96.6. You like seeing that. Didn't give up any walks. Did give up a homer. This was, it was kind of easing them in, and, it helps that you're facing the Marlins. It helps that, it just, if you have Buehler, you activated him because he had 2 starts this week. So you're a little bummed out that he didn't last long enough for the win. But honestly, if you expected him to do so, you're probably, you were self-delusional a little bit there.
Yeah, I'd say this is a held serve return. Nothing special that catches your eye. It's not. He could have got to 5 innings if he was having a great start, and he was facing a really bad Marlins lineup. So this was a lineup that maybe he could have got through 5 innings on. Yep. But when I say held serve, like you said, the positives: didn't walk anyone. Of the 3 runs he gave up, 2 were in the first, 1 was in the second. So you could certainly argue kind of settled in after that. Yeah, I think it's with the velocity, like you said, with the velocity looking good, I think it's full steam ahead with Buehler. Like, you assume that now he'll get comfortable. The starts will start being more consistent and better. We'll see. That may not happen, but I think you can be optimistic that, maybe a bit of first inning jitters and then settles in and looks fine after that. So yeah. Another great piece for the Dodgers probably. And for people who kept him, again, health serve, I'd say for people who drafted Buehler, he's probably coming back around when you thought he would, maybe a little earlier than I thought he would, but around when I thought he would. Like, as far as you're getting your first good week of Buehler in the middle of May.
Yeah. I mean, they're still rolling with Paxton and Gavin Stone at 4 or 5 spots in the rotation because Bobby Miller's still out. Dustin Maid, Tony Gonsolin probably aren't coming back this year. Sheehan's not coming back anytime soon. Kershaw's not coming back anytime soon. God, that's a lot of not coming back soon type of guys. But yeah, so maybe another starter is in the offing. But you know what? They were able to get by. They were able to call up a prospect. They call up Knack, and he was fine, I guess. They just sent him back down, but they're doing fine. So that's all pretty good there.
Yeah, Paxton is the one to me who he never finishes. Well, he doesn't. I shouldn't say never. He rarely finishes seasons. Usually an injury crops up. He's actually pitching terribly, and he's 4-0 with a
Yeah.
3.06 ERA. So he's both been lucky, and well supported by the Dodgers. He has 18 strikeouts in 32 and a third innings and 24 walks. Like 18
Oh,
strikeouts, 24 walks is so bad, and he's 4-0 only in Dodger land. So, but I mean, from the Dodgers' perspective, if they could get half a season out of Paxton, and
yeah.
even if he regresses a bit, let's say they get half a season of a 4.5 ERA, and then he gets hurt, or just the other guys come back and they push him off to the bullpen or something, totally fine. Or whatever they decide to do with him. He's never been a reliever. Maybe, I don't know what, but if he's not pitching well when the guys come back, like Kershaw, they'll find another space for Paxton, or he'll end up on the IL or something like that. But if they can get half a season out of Paxton, they've done really well.
Yeah, they have. They absolutely have.
Yeah.
One other Dodger note. Alex Vesia got the save. You asked me, does that matter? A little bit, because it shows that Roberts is going to mix and match. Hudson was available to pitch, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at his game log. Yeah, he only pitched once over the weekend against the Braves, and that was on Friday. So he was fresh. I like that Treinen came in the 8th. That to me indicates if they needed a righty for the save situation, it would have been Hudson. Treinen threw a 1-2-3, so that is a little dangerous. But with Vesia, he was scheduled to face 3 out of 4 lefties coming up in that inning. 2 of them, which they pinch hit for. The righty was Tim Anderson, so no big deal. You can have anybody pitch to him. So they went with the lefty. I feel like I'm not super concerned about this. It just shows if you have Evan Phillips and you picked up Daniel Hudson like I did in multiple leagues, you're still probably in line for a few saves. Just realize you're not going to get all of them.
Yeah, that's it. I could see Hudson and Treinen each getting a save or two while Phillips is out. I don't know if Vesia gets another one. Maybe he gets another one if the lineup looks perfect. Like you said, like last night was just the perfect storm for him to pitch the 9th inning.
Yep, it was. It really was. We're going to talk about Kyle Manzardo and Mason Black, but first, quick note from our sponsors at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds, and I can do this in California. That's one of the things I really like, that is available to me. You can just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. I'm in on a couple of basketball plays tonight. The 2 playoff games. They had a special earlier on for what's the guard for the Celtics? Anyways, for White on the Celtics there. So that was one that I jumped on earlier there. I also kind of a little skeptical of Jason Tatum being able staying in long enough to pile up the big numbers. So I kind of did a less than projection for him. But point is, these are available to you there. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and use code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Also, we are sponsored by Home Run Forecast. Can certain weather conditions lead to more home runs? The atmosphere, absolutely it can. The atmosphere can affect how far a baseball flies by 20%. Home Run Forecast measures the weather conditions at a ballpark to tell us if the atmosphere is good or bad for ball flight during a game. An index value that rates the air is created for each game in a ballpark and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10. Home Run Forecast premium site offers index values by the hour for each game, 24-hour forecast, wind direction and speed, and even whether the roof will be open at certain stadiums. Home Run Forecast is offering a special for the start of the baseball season. You can get access to the premium site for the entire season for only $28, a savings of nearly 30%. Go to homerunforecast.com/rotowire now to sign up. Thanks to Prize Picks and to Home Run Forecast for their sponsorship, as always. Let's jump in here and talk a little bit about the Kyle Manzardo making his debut. 0 for 3 strikeouts. Not a great debut, albeit against Jack Flaherty, who's just racking up the strikeouts right now.
Yeah, it couldn't be worse of a debut. Like you said, it was a fairly tough matchup, but it wasn't like he was facing like the best pitcher in baseball. If Flaherty is on a roll of strikeouts, yeah, a bad first game for Kyle Manzardo, but he's back in the lineup today, albeit hitting 8th. I haven't lost any optimism just based on one bad day. I'm excited about Manzardo's potential because I find it's hard to find power hitters on the waiver wire in
Yeah.
comparison to base stealers. I found that last year, and I've already found that this year. So Manzardo, I know you and Scott kind of went over some of the things, but hitting 303 with 9 homers in 29 games at the time of his call up, I'm hoping, and that Cleveland lineup has played really well this year, but there's obvious holes in it. Like there's obvious spots where like Manzardo could just be their DH or just rotate between DH and first base with Naylor playing some DH. Like it would be so easy if Manzardo hits over the next few weeks while Quan is out to just keep him when Quan comes back. So I had one league where Manzardo was available. I bid about $100 in an NFBC on him and won him.
Nice.
Yeah, about 100 to about 50. And I was hoping maybe some people in my league wouldn't have noticed that he was available, right? Because he's not available in a lot of the leagues right now. Next week, well, we'll see. It'll depend how he does this week, but I think next week he'll be a triple-digit bid in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, I only
Unless
had
he
one.
just totally stinks this week. Obviously.
I only had one league where he was available, and that was one that you're in as well, and that's Yahoo Friends and Family, where Dalton Del Don spent 2/3 of his FAAB money, which, by the way, is not uncommon for Dalton. He got both Christian Scott and Manzardo, and I was in such an NFBC mindset, I didn't even think to look to see if Manzardo was available. So shame on me.
Yep.
I didn't even bid on him, but that's part of the problem. But Stephen Kwan's out 4 weeks with an acute hamstring strain, not just a hamstring strain, but an acute hamstring strain. It's like I strenuously object. But I think that Cleveland's going to give Manzardo a pretty decent leash.
He probably gets the whole month.
Yeah, he might. We'll see. I mean, I don't think they're going to go straight Baltimore like they did with Kierstead or even Holiday for that matter. But if Manzardo strikes out as much as Holiday did, then we'll see. But they'll shift that a little bit. But I also think that Naylor is going to play a little bit more DH, and maybe even Bo Naylor plays a little DH from time to time too. But as they move things around, Will Brennan's going to get a lot of center field time, I think.
Yeah, although Bo Naylor has hit so poorly this year, he's been really disappointing. I know we could do a whole topic on mid-round catchers that were so Keibert Ruiz, Naylor, Mitch Garver, and I could keep going on guys who were supposed to. The catcher position was so deep. There were so many catchers around rounds like 10 to 13. A lot of them have been disappointing, including Naylor. Anyways, jumping back to Manzardo, I think actually you raised a really good point about friends and family. Just a good reminder for everyone. So in the league where I got Manzardo, at like 20 or 30 minutes before lock time for bids in NFBC, it crossed my mind to just check and see if he had been drafted, held, and dropped in any of my leagues. And then sure enough, there was one. And I put a bid on him and got him. But I was, within 20 or 30 minutes of not thinking of that in time. So it was but then I didn't think of it in friends and family. And I did do a bunch of friends and family bids. And I wasn't thinking of him because, again, he wasn't available in most of my leagues. But you raise a good point or reminder of like, it might make sense to, take a piece of paper and write down all of the potential FAAB options, or whatever, put them in a spreadsheet or whatever, and make sure you check all of your leagues for them.
Yeah.
Because and there could be that one league where someone like that's available.
And that was done in a couple of my leagues. Seth Klein jumped the gun and got him in Scarf like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, not Sunday, but the week before, because he was drafted and dropped. We drafted that league late February. And I think that was before, that was before like it was clear he's not going to make the team out of spring training. Same thing with TGFBI. Manzardo was rostered already. But my main event and my 2 online championships, Manzardo is available. So I will be bidding on him there as long as he doesn't pull a Holiday here.
Yeah, it will vary. Like with that 3 strikeouts, like he has a few more games like that, and he may not. We've seen this already where people get called up, and then Low Profito, like we saw that already. Like he got called up, and I felt like people were so excited, and then a few days later, he hadn't really done much, and it cooled, and the bids were more reasonable. So
although there were still leagues where he went for 200 in the NFBC. I heard about that.
There were, but if he had a good week, I think he would have gone for 200 in every week, every league. And a lot of my leagues, he went for double digits, not triple digits. So.
And I am hurting for power in the main event, really hurting for power. So I'll be in on that for sure.
If you do, I find every week if you search like last 7 or last 14 and look at how many homers the guys in the waiver wires have hit, like last 7, you'll get a couple guys with 2 and a bunch of guys with 1. And last 14, you might get a guy or 2 with 3 and everyone else with 2, or like a few guys with 2. Like it's hard to find someone.
Yeah, and that someone might be like the kid on the A's who hit 2 home runs on that Saturday, Harris. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, and then you look at him a little bit more, like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is not sustainable at all. So, yeah, I think power hitters, are going to be our thing. I'd rather plug away mixing and matching, trying to figure out my steals than my power right now. So like I said, I was intent on getting Manzardo where I could, and I'll probably unless he has a terrible week, I'll probably go after him in my other NFBC leagues on Sunday.
Yeah. We had another prospect debut yesterday. That was Giants starting pitcher Mason Black. Baptism by fire, got his start against the red hot Philadelphia Phillies, who just are on fire. Completed the 4-game sweep. But Black's line looks not great. 5 runs on 8 hits over 4 1/3. Almost all that damage came in the 5th inning, though. He looked okay for a while. 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. The walks are troublesome a little bit there, but this is actually a real prospect. Mason Black is a real prospect.
Absolutely. I was excited about his debut, not like before it happened. I was excited about it. I actually drafted him in the Tout Wars draft and hold, like in round, 45, something like that.
So you love seeing those guys get called up.
Yeah, for sure. And just thinking along these lines that he was probably in the organizational depth chart, 6th or 7th. And it is an actual prospect, and it's a good place to pitch. Yeah, I'm not going to read much into one start against a red hot Phillies team, in Philadelphia. Later this week, he's going to play on Saturday. He's going to pitch at home against the Reds. So that's a reasonable matchup. We'll see how he does there. Next week, he is scheduled to have a home start against Colorado. So
yes, I just saw that.
I think he could. We saw how big the Christian Scott bids were. Black will not match the Christian Scott bids, but I'll be interested to see if he pitches well against Cincinnati on Saturday. Will the people who were the runners up for Christian Scott, will they now turn their attention to Black and put in a triple-digit bid on him?
Right. That's right. Did you get any Christian Scott, by the way?
No.
I did not either.
I wasn't even close, actually. Most of my teams probably
Yeah.
need other things more than pitching. Probably need hitting more than pitching. So
I was the runner-up bid in my main event, but I still was down like $40. I bid 303 and he went for like 346, I think.
No, that's a real bid. Like I didn't even. I just put in I just did keep him honest. 140 things like that.
The Fred Zinkie second place bid theory.
No, that wasn't even. That is below the second place bid. You put in
real money.
300's a lot. I was gonna say I don't know if that's the second place bid. Like you knew 300 though was probably like.
I wanted to win him. I thought that I had a chance at winning him.
What did you think your odds were in a main event at 300? I would have said that they were like 60%, something like that. I wouldn't think you had like a 90% chance at 300.
Correct. Yeah, that's about where I was. And initially I was at 275. And I said, well, let's go a little bit higher. I mean, the fact is, if I'm willing to bid 300, I should have bid 350. That's the way it is. If I was happy to win them at 300, why go cheap? Make sure you win them. But then again, someone could have bid 370. Average winning bid was like 366 according to Paul Sporer. So, it was really high.
So if Fred Zinkie aimed to finish second, would have been around 300 in those leagues. I didn't even go there. I kind of just went at like 150, which to me is more of a keep him honest. You're just making sure no one steals him. That somehow everyone in your league falls asleep. But the 300, I'd say, is like you're not fully dropping the hammer. Like I'm absolutely getting Christian Scott, but you're like, no, I'm right there. Like I'm gonna finish first or second for him, but I'm not gonna waste a ton of money. Like I'm not gonna bid 300 and the next bid's 120. Like I'm not gonna waste a lot of extra money on him. So that's a competitive bid. We'll see where it goes. He certainly looked good in his debut, but like I said, there are people out there who think that Black is not that much worse of a pitching prospect than Scott. There are some people out there who feel that way, just maybe in less of a market than New York. But San Francisco is a good place to pitch. I think if that red start goes well, he could go for a lot. You were a Scott runner-up. You could be one of those guys who maybe doesn't throw 300 at Black, but throws 150 at him or something.
It could be because we waited on starting pitching, and Whether that was wise or not is looking less wise now, especially the weird part is the hitting is the part that's letting us down a little bit. We're just not hitting for any power in the last 2 weeks. It's a killer to watch. 2 for 20 yesterday. Too many days like that in the last 10 days. It's been really tough. But our first starting pitcher was Justin Steele in the 5-6 turn. Nate Eovaldi was the next starting pitcher. 6-7 turn, excuse me. I went Steele. We get Steele back this week, lose Eovaldi. That's just the way our season's going. It's really tough. Yesterday was frustrating. Steele pitched well, didn't get a win. Simeon Woods-Richardson pitched great, didn't get a win. And then I started Tyler Anderson, and the correct answer on Tyler Anderson is never Tyler Anderson. It's always the correct answer. I should have known better. Although it was only 4 runs at least, but it could have been worse. But still.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that terrible. You could have just said to yourself, Tyler Anderson didn't get a win, which is true.
I just want to beat myself up a little bit there.
Yeah, it wasn't a good start, but it wasn't that terrible. 6 and a third. Like, he pitched in the 7th inning, 4 runs, 9 base runners. It's not good, but it's not that bad. So what's killing your main event team really is that you had the quote advantage of getting Acuna, and it hasn't been an advantage.
No, 2 homers so far, hitting 265. So, I mean,
give Acuna 6 more homers, and then the RBIs and the runs that come along with them, and some more batting average. You just haven't got that advantage yet.
Right,
it cost you the ability to get pitching.
And I went Lindor and Alonso over Gunnar.
Yeah,
and that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Or over a pitcher, for example. And I know a lot of the good ones were gone, but yeah, Alonso's not playing well. I know you and Scott talked about this too, but I'm not super worried about Alonso. He kind of does stuff like this.
Yeah,
I feel like Alonso has weeks where he hits 120, and then he'll have another week where he hits 4 home runs.
Correct. Another starting pitcher I have rostered is starting tonight, and that's the Phillies' Christopher Sanchez. And the note on him is that they're going to piggyback Spencer Turnbull onto him. They want him to pitch at least 3 innings. Don't like that for Christopher Sanchez.
But good. Yeah.
No, but we benched him this week because thinking that we might only get 1 start. Sanchez hasn't pitched in 8 days. So, and he only got 1 swing and miss in his last start. So we're a little wary of him against Toronto, who seems to be hitting better on the road than they are at home. Kind of just went away from it there, but we'll see if that proves to be wise or not. And if next week Sanchez is tentatively slated to get 2 starts at the Mets and home against Washington, and we'll use him for that if he still remains in the rotation.
Yeah, my concern here when you said that, and I had read this too, that Turnbull's expected to throw 3 innings, those innings probably aren't the 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that means Sanchez is probably not going to go 5.
Which ruins him.
Which means he can't get a win. Which means you'd love to start Turnbull tonight, because if Sanchez pitches 3 or 4 good innings, and then Turnbull pitches 3 good innings, Turnbull's taking you to the 6th or 7th, and he gets the win.
Right.
So Turnbull suddenly is actually would be in this scenario would be pretty valuable. Sanchez is not so much. You'd rather have it the other way around. And it's a cool mix for them. Go lefty then righty. It's smart.
Turnbull could be getting the Ryan Yarbrough bump, if you will.
Yes, absolutely.
Not the starter, not the opener, but the secondary one. Not even the finisher, but I don't know what we'd call that there. The seconder. I don't know. There's got to be a better name for it than that. We're going to talk about 2 guys coming off the IL. But first, quick note from the Blue Wire Network. All right. Thank you for your patience with that. Thanks to Blue Wire for hosting our podcast. As always, Fred, Paul Sewald returns today. And according to Torey Lovello, it looks like he will close if a situation comes up right away.
Perfect. This is what we wanted. Kevin Ginkel, if you got him in FAAB, you got 5 saves, you got good ratios. You can still keep him for right now and just make sure Sewald looks like he's fine. But I think this is almost like an everybody wins. I know the people who drafted Sewald didn't totally win because a lot of them drafted him expecting 6 months of closing, and they're not going to get that. But if Sewald comes back now and pitches fine the rest of the year, you could still get 25 saves, something like that. That's not bad. 25. Maybe you get lucky and you even get closer to 30. I feel pretty good about this, as long as Sewald looks like he's It looks like he's fine here in his next few outings, but I think it's great that they're going right back to him. It's an oblique, like he should be fine.
Yeah, he should be. And it's
Yeah.
rare for Lovello to give us clear definition too. I'm a little
Mhm.
like flummoxed by that and distrusting.
Mhm.
But we'll see. But good to get him back. I have him in labor. And I think in labor, I left both him and Kinkle active this week just in case they don't want to go back to backs and all that. The Reds aren't hitting very well, so I feel like it could be some opportunities here for them. So I like the chances of them getting one there. So that works pretty well. Also returning today for the Cubs is Cody Bellinger, and they're starting to get healthy. They got Justin Steele back yesterday. They get Bellinger back today.
That's right. Yeah. And they've been, faring pretty well without those guys. So getting them back is a big boost. Now, I haven't seen, did Pete Crow Armstrong, did he make it through the Bellinger return and is still staying up?
Sure looks like it there.
I
He's
think
not
so.
in the lineup today, but let's see who they we can see who they sent down here just as to make room for that there.
Yeah. He is in the lineup today. He's batting ninth. So there you go.
Okay, it was Canario that got optioned.
There you go. So he made it through. So that's good.
Yeah.
Like for those people who have fabbed him, yeah, he might get bumped when Suzuki's ready to return. But
yeah, somehow I missed that. I misread the note there. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
But
Bellinger, does he go right back into your lineup? I think so. Even though
if you have him, sure. I don't have him anywhere, so
right. Yeah, he was only hitting 226, but good strikeout to walk rate. Like he had already hit 5 home runs in 22 games. He just had a really low BABIP. So I think there's still a chance for Bellinger to put the average up much higher and be the all around. He hasn't stolen any bases, but other than that, be the all around stud that he was last year.
Yeah, with Suzuki still out, Tauchman remains in the lineup. Michael Busch finds a way to remain in the lineup. Pete Crow Armstrong remains in the lineup there, as you alluded to. So something's going to give once Suzuki comes back, but it's not, and I'm guessing it might still be Crow Armstrong.
Me too.
But
because Tauchman you can just put on the bench.
Yeah, and
right?
He's not even
a prospect.
To. Plus, Crow Armstrong's not hitting. 216 batting average so far since getting the call. Tauchman's had some pretty big hits.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Crow Armstrong, it's really about him. Like he would have to hit so well that he forces the Dodgers to keep him up, where they're just like, we can't send this guy down. Like, look at how he's hitting. He's a huge part of the lineup. If he's just a guy hitting 8th or 9th and 6-something OPS, like then he goes back down and keeps developing, and Tauchman goes to the bench and is a pinch hitter, part-time player. So anyways, and as you mentioned, Steele, Justin Steele is back. He's made now 2 appearances, including one last night. He's made 2 appearances this year. His first one back being last night. His last one was on March 28th. One out short of being eligible for a win last night, but still pitched really well. 4 2/3 shutout innings, only 4 base runners.
Right. Would like to see an extra K or 2, but I'll definitely happily take that. And he was clearly on a pitch count. He had 68 pitches. Steele did. Unfortunately for him, Yu Darvish shut out the Cubs over 5 innings. So, even if Steele had gone the full 5, no win for him. But I'm encouraged by his return. I had 3 starters going last night, Fred, and none of them got the win. We mentioned Tyler Anderson already. It was one grand slam.
One bad inning. Yeah, one
bad inning. But I like that he stuck around and got 6 1/3 out of that mess. So that was good. And then Simeon Woods-Richardson was really good. And by the way, Seattle quietly striking out a ton right now. Woods-Richardson's not a big swing and miss guy, but he was getting him too. He got a bunch of Ks. So, but no win because they blew the lead. Twins messed around with their bullpen yesterday. They had Duran pitch the 8th, sending Twitter afire, of course.
Yeah. Jumping back to Woods-Richardson for a minute, like if you're in a trading league and you want to already try to do this, like as far as a sell high goes, he's made 4 starts: Detroit, White Sox, Mariners.
Yeah, that's pretty
good.
That
is about as good as that's, right up there for about as good as it can get. We're talking about, 3 teams in the bottom. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 3 teams in the bottom 7 in OPS. The Mariners, as you said, strike out so much. That's about as good as the schedule can get. So Woods-Richardson has done really well. 21-5 strikeout to walk ratio looks like someone who may be a really exciting pitcher, but I really want to see him do this against someone else before I buy in too much. And
Right,
he
because the
faces,
schedule ultimately will pick up. That's the thing.
yeah, he'll face Toronto this weekend and then
Yes.
Cleveland next week.
And as you alluded to, at Toronto isn't necessarily as scary as it
Yeah.
used to be.
I think that Toronto this weekend and then Cleveland next week is a total like mid-level schedule. Like if he's a true breakout pitcher, he should have quality starts in those games.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So but still, you may have to give up that one start. You can't perfectly time the market. Maybe you have to give up a good start to get good value. So something worth mentioning there.
Yeah, like maybe like when I always think about trading, but when you like maybe if you were making someone an offer, you're like, oh, I'd really much rather have this guy than this guy, but I can't offer them in a 1-for-1. They probably won't take it. Oh, I'll offer them Woods-Richardson too.
Yeah,
because I'm not really sure if I have something in him or not. So I'm going to offer them, the 1-for-1 and Woods-Richardson, and then maybe they'll be like, oh, I get him too. Oh, he's off to a really good start. He's an exciting rookie. So that could be a way to make a 1-for-1 deal that you'd really prefer. You know what I mean? Like, okay, how about this? Let's say in a league I was going to try to sell low on Corbin Carroll, and I don't think, even though some people have him in their ratings high, there's no way I could get Gunnar Henderson for Corbin Carroll right now. But, you throw in Simeon Woods-Richardson to try to sweeten the pot. Or let's say I was going to try to unload Carroll and I wanted, I don't know, who's a guy who's maybe a little more mid-level so far. Maybe I want to sell him for Matt Olson, who's also off to a crummy start.
Yeah.
And like, oh, the other guy doesn't really want to do it. Like, I'd rather have Olson right now because he's got years of being good. So
right. Now
I'm
with
like,
Carroll,
okay, well, I'll throw in Woods-Richardson, and maybe that gets it over the top for me.
Yeah. And I guess, are you eager to sell Carroll? I mean, are you, do you think this is shoulder related? Do you think it's something else? What do you think it is?
I think I'm willing to sell him and let someone else find out. Like, I don't really know, but he's just been so bad. Like I would gladly trade him for Matt Olson right now, for example. I don't know how low I would go. Like if I would go down to like third rounders, maybe. I thought when he went in our friends and family draft that we talked about last week, when he went 25th, I thought that was too high.
I agree. And
so
I think the consensus of the people that, I not think it wasn't a unanimous thing. I know Uncle Ted disagrees, for instance, in our chat, but like on Twitter, most of the people also agreed. And in fact, some were saying that was way too high. Others saying too low. That's the beauty of our game, though, right then and there, that even though we have all this data, we still can't come to an agreement on that. And that's beautiful. I love it.
That's true.
Jack Leiter is going to start against the A's tomorrow as part of the doubleheader. Are you interested?
Yep. As a streamer, I didn't pick him up, and I knew he would probably start. I didn't pick him up in any of my NFBC leagues. I didn't think he could bump anyone who I had in my rotation. But if I was in like a Yahoo league and I could pick him up for the day, I'd pick him up and give him one more shot. What do you think?
It's hard because he had such a good matchup against Detroit and totally spit the bit. So it's hard to fully trust. But I think if I need the strikeouts, if I'm low on strikeouts to begin with, I think I'd kind of take some chances. I take a little more chances to go get those cases. I think that is something he could deliver. Leiter, just you worry about the walks with him. That's the one thing you watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. And one start. That's why I say I would only do it in a Yahoo league. Like even in an NFBC, if I want to cut someone that I want for him. So if I was in a Yahoo type league, a daily type league, and I was streaming a spot, then I would use him. But I just don't know. Even if he was okay, even if he's okay against the A's, I don't know if I'd use him next week against Cleveland or not. I think I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
So I think for me, it's just a pitch and ditch.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that first start scared me off enough that it would take more than the A's start to want to use him. It would have to be really good for me to want to use him. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oops. Shane. Yeah. So Shane Boz pitching a rehab start yesterday. Is it time to stash Boz, or pick or Boz or Taj Bradley? I'd go Bradley over Boz.
Bradley. Yeah.
Boz didn't get any strikeouts yesterday. I know, granted, it's one rehab starting his first one at that. Did throw 95. That's the one thing I do like about that, but still. One other Rays note. talking about Jonny DeLuca had a nice little game yesterday. Are you interested in him? I saw Phil Dussault picked him up in a bunch of leagues, former NFBC main event champion. That does catch my attention when a good player like Phil does like a guy like that. And of course, DeLuca did homer yesterday, and he's started the last 4 games for the Rays.
How does Phil do this, eh? He's
I don't know. He's your fellow Canadian. You would know better than me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I should have a better pipeline to fill ahead of these moves. Am I interested in DeLuca? I wasn't. Maybe he could make me interested this week. Like you said, he started the last 4 games. He's also starting tonight. He's hitting 7th tonight, which is the highest he's hit in the lineup. So as of Sunday, I kind of saw him as a guy who had started 3 games in a row, had hit really low in the lineup. Like I kind of needed to see more before I cut someone for him. But this maybe I'm too late. Well, I won't be too late in most of my leagues, but this would be maybe the prove it week for me. Like if he starts most of this week, then maybe it's time for me to get on board. Looking at his profile, like, yeah, he's got that nice balanced profile that you like. Not a super high average hitter in the minors, career 271, but he kind of profiles in the minors as like a 20-20 type guy. If he played a full minor league season, maybe even like 30-25, something like that. So he has a nice power speed blend. So, and the Rays could certainly use an impact bat in their lineup right now.
Right.
They're 19th in the league in OPS, 681, not very good. Their record isn't as good. Like, I heard a debate on the radio, on Major League Baseball radio, between them and the Blue Jays right now, who has a better chance of turning it around. I think it's the Rays, but they definitely, like, finding some bats like DeLuca would really spark that. So yeah, I think he is someone to really watch closely this week. He could be someone that people are really interested in by next Sunday.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Texas Rangers. Wyatt Langford just went on the IL with a hamstring injury. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. He hasn't been hitting well too. What do you do?
Cut him, I think.
Cut him, he says.
12's cut. 12's cut him for sure.
Yeah.
I think 12's you cut him. 15s, okay, this is a bit of a cop out, but 12s I cut him. 15s, it would depend how many other injured players I have. So if we're talking about whether you cut him, we're talking about NFBC style leagues where you don't have a lot of IL slots.
Right.
I have an NFBC league with six of my 7 bench spots are IL players. Like in that kind of league, I would have to cut them. If I had a league where I had 1, maybe 2, then maybe I try to hold them and just hope that the injury bug stays away from my team.
Fair.
Yeah.
And the NFBC main event, 57 teams. Langford is now rostered in 56 of them. He has been cut. No, that's not true. No, yeah, it is true. He's been cut in 1 league. He's 98% rostered now. So someone has finally cut Langford. In the 12s, I imagine it's a little different. But in fact, it's 87% rostered in the 12s. So you're starting to see that attrition level a little bit there. I'll tell you though, I saw, if Langford's getting cut, I'm probably going to try to turn around and stash it cheap because I'm just so thirsty for power. I saw Jackson Holiday get cut in my main event. I'm going to have a hard time not bidding on him, even though I don't know when the heck he's going to get called back. But you want to get him cheap before he's getting the official call, right?
No, that's a really good point. Yeah. You're right. Where Langford gets cut, especially because it'll be another week later, right? When like someone like the waiver wire will soak up 1 week of his time out. So he becomes a little more appealing. So you're right. Someone will probably pick him up. I think the person, and then again, it'll be someone picking him up who either desperately needs hitting or has no injuries or very few injuries right now. So yeah, I think maybe I was a little too quick to say cut him. I'm thinking of a lot of my teams have 3-4 guys under those 7 spots are jammed with the IL. Well, I'll say this: I'm holding Royce Lewis still in leagues.
Yeah, me too.
His return time is still probably the same. What's his return time now? But the same time that Langford would return.
Probably so.
And I'd rather have Royce Lewis when he comes back, but I haven't even considered dropping him.
I didn't drop him nor Luis Robert. I held on to both. In some cases, both in the same league, much to my chagrin. I mean, it's tough when you're tying up multiple spots with injuries. Yeah. I have 1 league where I've got 6 of my 7 bench spots are IL guys, and I don't feel comfortable cutting any of them. But I may have to revisit that in another week. I might get more guys hurt for all I know. That's the thing. That's the league where I have both. I have Lewis, Robert, Trey Turner, all hurt, and stashing Paul Skeens. What do you do? I mean, none of those are cuts. That's my problem.
Yeah, I would cut him. I would cut. Yeah, for example, if I have a team with Paul Skeens waiting too, and I would cut Langford before I would cut Skeens. So I think it comes down to stuff like this with Langford. Like if I was just dropping Langford to pick up like a bench hitter for the week, like, oh, I might need this guy by Friday. Like I'm not going to do that. It would have to be that I was dropping him because I needed someone in my lineup this week. If I don't drop him, I'm going to end up with zeros or something like that in my lineup this week. Or there's someone I want and I don't have anyone else that I feel like I can cut. So he's my guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Parker Meadows just got sent down by the Tigers. Wenceel Perez might be getting more of a run of playing time.
Yeah, I picked up Perez in several leagues. I know that a lot of the things I read about Perez said that he won't be able to continue this run of success, but he's playing right now. He's hitting high in the lineup. I think the power is questionable, whether it can stick around, but I think he can steal some bases. Yeah, and he wasn't that expensive, I felt like on Sunday. Like I felt like I got him in leagues for like 20, 30, 40. I felt like he was pretty reasonable to get. So I picked him up in a few leagues. Did you go in on him in many places?
I did not do too many places. I got him in a score sheet league, and I think maybe one other league. Maybe was it AL Town? It's one league. Or maybe the staff keeper league. I forget where I grabbed them. But I don't have a lot of them, but I do have them in like a spot.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not confident totally that that the power will stay, but I do think he can steal some bases. And a lot of people talked, I felt like on Sunday, about how Tyler Black was hitting high in the lineup and how when people were talking about their bids on him, they were saying, well, one of the things is since he's come up, the Brewers keep hitting him like third or fourth in the lineup. Well, Perez in the last week has hit he was sick for a couple of days, but other than that, he's hitting second or third in the lineup every time. So now I know he's on a heater right now, so that's part of it. But they're hitting it's same thing. They're hitting him high in the lineup too. So
yeah, they are.
So and I felt like I felt like he was pretty cheap. I felt like he was overshadowed by Black, Scott, Low Perfido, etc. They're all more notable prospects than him, but the Tigers have a clear need with Meadows going down. Like they have a clear runway now for Perez, and I felt like all along that Meadows was either going to go down or sit on the bench, but there's a clear runway now for Perez to play every day. Not a great like I said, like he hasn't hit for much power in the minors. He still is at an age where you could maybe start to hit for a little more power. Like he's only 24.
Sure.
But he can definitely steal bases, and I think his average should be okay. It won't be anything what it is now, but I think it could be okay.
I won't write off Meadows in a keeper league, but yeah, he's donezo in a redraft because you just don't know when he's going to come back, and you don't know what the upside is either, for that matter. So that's a pretty easy cut. Otherwise, there. Couple other things before we get you out of here. AJ Puck now going to be a reliever again. Could he close? Will it matter? Are they the new Rockies where you don't care who the closer is?
No, I still care.
Yeah, I do too. I just thought it'd be hyperbolic.
Yeah, no, I still care. I think Puck, we're thinking now we're playing chess because we're thinking several moves ahead. But yeah, if Tanner, so we're all getting into this. Luis Arias got traded, so the Marlins fire sale starts now. I'm not so sure that it actually does start now. Like
it's a fire sale.
Like, do you think that their fire sale starts now?
I don't think there's much to sell. I mean, they traded their best asset in Arias, I think. Maybe their best older asset, tradable asset. They're not trading Jazz. They're not trading those young pitchers. They're trading people that are going to are under arbitration.
Would they trade De La Cruz maybe?
Sure, someone puts in a real offer for something,
he's 27. Like he's not a superstar. He's
a fourth outfielder.
Yeah, or like a third outfielder. I get it. Yeah, I know what you mean. Would they trade Jake Berger? They just got him, but he's 28. Like
possible.
I feel like they trade anyone. Truthfully, maybe not Chisholm, but I feel like from their lineup, I
I
feel
don't
like
think they trade Chisholm. I don't think they trade some of their youngsters like Max Meyer. They don't trade. They
no,
probably
not
don't.
Meyer. Yeah.
They probably don't trade Luzardo. Who's hurt
Yep.
right now.
Agreed. Yeah. Should be back
Although,
this week.
yeah,
Garrett
Cabrera,
Garrett
Garrett,
should be back this week. Yeah.
maybe those guys when they come back. I don't know.
I don't. I just think, okay, so when the Arias trade happened, people were talking about how, oh, the Marlins, like they're selling off. They're selling everybody right now. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I kind of think that San Diego made them, like by all accounts, by all people who know prospects, they got a ton for Arias.
Right.
So it was a great deal for them. Like, no, I'm not taking anything away from Arias, who's a good real life baseball player, but they got a ton for Arias. So I kind of think it's a situation where the Padres came in with a bit of a Godfather offer and just said, we want him right now. Like, we're going to try to compete to make the playoffs. We want him right now for the extra games.
I think that was super smart, by the way, too.
Yeah, we're going to give you a great offer right now. We're going to get him for this is a long time. They're going to have him almost 3 months before the deadline.
Yep.
So
I think it's a smart trade by the Marlins too. I think it's
yeah,
yeah,
on both sides. Yeah. So I just think I don't think this means that all the Marlins trades are coming soon. I still think the odds are if Tanner Scott gets traded, it's in the last 2 weeks before the deadline.
yeah. I could see like Josh Bell or Jake Berger get dealt, I guess. But yeah, Berger's got to stay healthy for a little while first before that happens.
I think all those other guys would get traded if they got a Godfather offer for them, but they're not getting a Godfather offer for Tanner Scott.
Yeah,
and they're not getting a Godfather offer for Josh Bell.
Let's look at the other losing teams and see if we can find other guys that could get dealt.
Sure.
The White Sox. Do you make a Godfather offer for Eloy? Is there anybody else? Garrett Crochet, obviously. Garrett Crochet is the Godfather offer guy.
Yeah, Luis Roberts probably not going anywhere, right? I know he's hurt right now, but even when he comes back, like I don't think they would trade him. I don't think so. They're so bad. They probably should. Like they honestly probably should look at trading Robert. Like he's all like, I don't know. He's great. I think he's great, but he's really injury prone, and their organization needs so much.
Yeah.
He's a guy who someone could make a Godfather offer for at the deadline.
Yeah. And so the thing about Crochet too is, he's young, but yet he's been in the major since age 21. Now, I don't know what exact I haven't looked up his exact service time number, but it's also between his various arm injuries, they may feel like, okay, let's max him out. Let's figure out if we can max his value and see if someone will bite on that and just dream on the strikeouts, because he's got a 5.31 ERA, but it's also kind of like a couple of bad innings there. It wasn't like he's been consistently bad, and he's got 53 strikeouts in 40 innings. You look for those sort of things.
So 9 walks.
Nine walks. That's great. Almost as many homers, 8 homers. That part's not so great for Crochet.
Yeah, a lot of it because it's early in the season, as you said. A lot of it, he was great. Then he had a bad 3-start stretch, and then he's been great again recently. Oh, I think he's a pitcher that teams would be like really interested in giving up a lot to get.
Yeah.
And I will say that if you were going to try to move someone earlier, I would move the pitcher who has never thrown a lot of innings before in his career. If someone was going to give you a lot for him, right? Like there's a much better chance that Luis Robert or Eloy with his injury history, I was going to say that those guys will be healthy and valuable at the deadline. Crochet, he could go in a lot of directions. I don't think there's any doubt that Crochet is a good pitcher, but the question will be by July, how many more innings can you get out of him?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. After last year, he threw 12 2/3 in the majors. He hasn't been a starter in the majors before. So I think that might limit what they can get for him in an in-season trade, because maybe a contender trading for him will be like, oh, I don't know if we can even use this guy at the end of the year.
Exactly. Right.
Maybe their trade of Crochet should happen in the winter.
Yeah. How about the paste-eating Rockies? Who can they send? I'm always going to call them that, by the way.
I think you only call the Rockies the paste eaters. Is that right? I don't think you call the other organizations the paste eaters.
No, because the Rockies for years haven't had a plan. Years, Fred. At least with the Marlins, they've had a tangible plan at times. The A's have had a plan at times, sort of. It's been cynical, but at least it's a plan. The Rockies are just there. They make no sense at all. So,
yep.
Okay, let's look at them though, real quick. Who is their Godfather offer guy? I'm having a hard time identifying one here. Chris Bryant's hurt long term, it feels like. Brendan Rodgers still
there's
looking
no
for
one.
his first stolen base attempt. Ryan McMahon?
Oh,
Maybe?
Nolan Jones?
He's hurt. Has barely
I
ever
know.
done it before.
Is
He's
that? Oh
young.
no, there's no one. There's absolutely no one.
Ryan
If
McMahon. How about him?
you can't Godfather offer Ryan McMahon, like he's not.
He's got an
He's just not.
883 OPS.
He does this year.
He can play second and third.
758 in his career is respectable. Ryan McMahon's okay. What do you think Ryan McMahon's career OPS is away from Coors Field?
Probably like 710 or something.
674.
Yeah.
And I know that we've done this before when guys like Carlos Gonzalez or Matt Holliday were traded, and we're like, you can't just use their road OPS. It's not how it works. You can't just do that. It's not the same. And it's true.
It is true.
When they were traded, they didn't. Arenado, there's another guy like Arenado, Holliday. They didn't initially leave, go to the Cardinals, and initially when Arenado went to the Cardinals, he didn't initially become his road OPS when he was with the Rockies. But they are also not their overall OPS when they're a member of the Rockies.
Right.
And McMahon's taking away the hot start of this year in his career is a 758. I took it the first couple of years when he was young, like he's still probably about a 770.
Right.
Take him away from Colorado and put him on a neutral venue team. He's probably more like a 730. There's no Godfather offer here.
Yeah.
I really think there's nothing. Is this the most pathetic? Is this the team with the least going for them?
It might be. But I am going to say one thing. I don't think Luis Arias is that much better of a ball player than Ryan McMahon. Arias doesn't have a position necessarily. He's not much of a defender. He doesn't hit for any power. Doesn't have a whole lot of speed. Has been hurt before in the past. He's got an elite hit tool, and it's remarkable. Mm-hmm. But does it have that big of an impact on the game?
What do you think his career OPS is? And remember, he contributes the on base, but not the power. What do you think?
825.
It's 800, which I actually thought it would be lower than that because he has so little power.
Right.
800 is higher than I thought, especially for guys. It's hot for guys with so little power. But I know what you mean. He's not a superstar baseball player.
Right. There is value in hitting for average over just straight OBP. I get that. But it's just he's got to drive the ball more. He doesn't. You would think his runs scored would be a lot higher than it is, and it just never is.
Yeah, because he's not very fast. I think part of it, and so it costs him a few runs every year. Now he also hasn't hit on a lot of, as a full-time player, he hasn't hit in great lineups. Maybe he'll score more on the Padres. They're not a great lineup, but they do have some good hitters. His career on base. The other thing, he doesn't, like you mentioned, he doesn't really walk a ton. Like his career on base is 377. His batting average is 324. So you look at batting average, and you're like, oh, this guy's like amazing at getting on base. Well, he's very good. 377 is a very good on base percentage. It's not amazing. Yeah. It's not the Juan Soto types of batting average. Like he can hit for average with anyone. Yeah. If he could walk too, that would be all of a sudden he becomes a 400 on base guy. And then we're talking about something really unique at the top of your lineup. He's not really. I know he's good. And the Godfather offer they got wasn't like insane, but yeah, I think more teams should do like what, I know we're a little off fantasy right now, but I think more teams should do what the Padres did. And I think you agree with that too. Like it's creative.
Get them earlier.
Get them and months earlier and just make a good offer and get them instead of trying to wait to save one prospect by waiting till the very last minute before the deadline. If you're serious about, and the Padres will be life and death to make the playoffs. Like they're going to be right around that dividing line. For a team that lost Soto in the offseason, they still do have pieces.
Yep. And they lengthened that lineup there. I thought that was impressive.
Yes. Yeah, Jackson Merrill's been off to a decent start. He seems like a guy they can keep around. They have Ha-Seong Kim hitting ninth, not often, sometimes. Like often hitting near the bottom and sometimes hitting ninth. That's a long lineup. Ha-Seong Kim's not a bad offensive player. And
they really haven't gotten Machado going yet either. That's the funny thing too.
No, I mean Profar is going to cool off. Like that's going to happen at some point. But when I look top to bottom of their lineup, when Xander Bogaerts is in the second half of your lineup. I know, again, he's not a great offensive player anymore, but he's not bad when he's hitting fifth or sixth for you. So the rotation with Cease pitching so well. Darvish has pitched well recently. So yeah, they're not awesome. They need to get Musgrove back on track. But they'll be in the hunt for the wild card. I think they can hang around.
I agree.
Yeah.
One more. Let's do one more dead team walking. Is there a player on the Angels we can make a Godfather offer for?
Well, not Mike Trout, I guess now.
Right.
Although he said he'd be back. He thinks he'll be back this season, but I guess that's not good enough. A Godfather offer for a guy in the Angels? Logan O'Hoppe?
Yeah, but I mean,
Not really.
he's not going to be expensive though. That's the problem with that.
Hmm.
I'm really talking about a guy that, I mean, it's got to hit this certain sort of price point, right? Before it, like, why would the Angels trade O'Hoppe? I mean, they just got him a year ago or 2 years ago, 2022.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
No, you're right. It doesn't. It'd be Taylor Ward.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's not a Godfather offer, but someone could make Taylor Ward kind of. He's different than Arias, but would you say they're a similar caliber of player?
Different type of player. Arias is always going to,
But
value
Ward
in
overall,
terms of value. I think
maybe,
Ward's probably slightly behind Arias, but I
me
think
too.
it's closer than
Ward
people might think.
like Ward's OPS say in the last 3 years since he became like it just gets hurt a lot. But his OPS in the last 3 years, I don't have it fully in front of me, but I can eyeball it and guess it's be about 785, 790. So not far off Arias's career OPS. So yeah, and he doesn't steal bases really either. He's got a little more power, a little less average than Arias, but yeah, I'd say he's a little worse. But he's the kind of guy again where some team could go after him now. And try to get him for the extra months. What about Reid Detmers? Off to a good start this year.
Yeah, I
not
would
bad.
definitely.
Oh, sorry, not bad start this year.
Yeah, I like him actually. By the way, about Taylor Ward getting the day off, and it's against a lefty. That's just annoying because Ward's a righty hitter. Like, give him the day off against, yesterday against Mitch Keller if you want to give him a day off. But no, that's just because that's the way the Angels roll. They do things like that. We do have a home run today. Andy Ibanez just went deep to start the game against Logan Allen, by the way. So yes, and I do have it on there. That helps very few people. But maybe you picked up Ibanez in like AL only leagues and all that because he just got called up, activated just last week from the IL. But anyways, I think Detmers is exactly the type of guy that you would try to target there. Just enough service time that he's about to become expensive. Yeah, this is his third full season, so you get him in advance of his arbitration years. Yeah, I can see it.
Three options remaining. I guess that doesn't really matter, but yeah, service time. Yeah, it's good. You could have him for a while.
Yeah.
Would he fetch more or less than Garrett Crochet? About
That's
the same?
a great question.
I'd say about the same. I'd say they both have a lot of upside. They're about the same age. I would say Detmers has more experience under his belt, like 28 starts last year and 25 the year before, which should work to his credit. Crochet just has this air of mystery, I think, because he hasn't come out of nowhere, but he's come out of nowhere as a starter a little bit this year, where you just are like, oh, the huge strikeout to walk rate, could the sky be the limit for this guy?
Right.
I might, if I was an organization, I might rather just get Detmers, who's shown that he can hack it over a full season.
Yeah, I think that's not.
You're not getting a star, but you're getting a good, solid, like when my Blue Jays got Jose Barrios.
Yeah.
Maybe Barrios a little better than Detmers, higher end. He's had maybe a little better success, but not that much. Like it's kind of like that. We're getting a really good like number 2, 3, maybe if our rotation gets stacked 4 type starter.
And Austin Martin didn't turn out like he was expected to. So, it didn't cost you as much as you thought. Simeon Woods-Richardson, we talked about him earlier today, pitched well yesterday, but hard to say where he lands eventually there. So, yeah, even though that was kind of a Godfather offer, it turns out it didn't cost him as much as they thought it was going to cost him.
Exactly. Or at least, yes, exactly.
Or at least as much as the Twins thought they were getting. So,
I find just anecdotally as a Jays fan over the years, all of the trades the Jays have made where they trade a bunch of their quote top prospects for veterans always work out. Going back to the Donaldson trade, like there's a lot of them. David Price trade, like there's a lot that, like just as a theory, like the Jays have often made trades where they give up some of their best prospects. Like Martin was a really great prospect at the time they gave him up.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, we gave up Martin. The one that hasn't worked out, at least so far, probably is the Varsho one, giving up Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel. But like that Moreno one could bite them for a long time. But I find a lot of the trades.
That one hasn't bid as bad this year as much as it did last
Nope,
year, too, for that
nope,
matter.
nope, not at all.
R.A. Dickey trade, Fred. Come on. Let's get know your own
So the
trades
R.A.
this year
Dickey
here.
trade is an interesting one in that Syndergaard, so they lost that one, I guess, because Syndergaard had some really good years for Mets, but it's not like Syndergaard had this
Right.
incredible career. He had 2 good years, then an injured year, then another good year, and then things started kind of going south after that.
For sure. And I was just being silly because
because that's a controversial one in Blue Jay land, because
sure.
R.A. Dickey didn't really meet expectations with the Blue Jays, but he also wasn't terrible. And he gave them basically every year 200 plus innings of a 4 ERA. That's kind of what it worked out to on average over his time with the Blue Jays. So he did that for 4 years. Syndergaard was more exciting, but kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyways, in general, when teams trade their prospects, people get really worked up, but often these guys don't turn out to be quite as great as they think they're going to be.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Which is why some teams like the Marlins go crowdsourcing and get several prospects in the Arias trade rather than one who's a little better.
Yeah.
They're just going to play the odds. They'll play the odds instead of us taking one of your, maybe they don't get an A prospect for Arias, but instead of us taking one of your Bs, we'll take 3 of your Cs.
Yeah.
C level prospects, and we'll play the odds that one of them works out better than the B would have.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to conclude. And I like the concept of the Godfather offer there. We'll have to go to the next tier of teams, see if we can find like a Godfather offer on the A's next time we do a podcast next week. But we'll see about that if we have time for that.
Maybe some fantasy people will be listening to this and then say, you know what, I'm going to give a Godfather offer on some player tonight that I really want.
There you go.
So I do that in the Yahoo columns on Wednesdays, like the concept of buying high, that sometimes it's easy to do the buy low sell high. I'll go get Matt Olson, that stuff's really easy. But the concept of sometimes there's guys off to great starts to the season and you're like, you know what, I'll pay for him.
Yeah.
I'll give you a lot. I want him. I think he's going to do this and more. So I'll just go out and pay for him. Yeah.
I want him and I need him. Yes. Absolutely.
That's right. So, and you make the Godfather offer where the other person says, actually, that's in our tout table for people who follow that. That'll be out later this week. What's one of the biggest mistakes people make in trading? And one of them is probably, I said, is just being closed-minded. Like, just because someone's off to a great start doesn't mean you can't put in a great offer for them.
Right. That's right.
Right.
Everybody's afraid to look silly on a trade or lose a deal there. And you miss out on value because of that, or miss out on what you need because of that.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Deep thoughts at the conclusion of a podcast. I like it.
Sure.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our sponsors, Prize Picks, as well as Home Run Forecast. Thank you guys for chiming in. Those who are paying attention, chiming in during the live stream as well. And those who listen on the podcast, we thank you. We'll be back at you again next Tuesday. Take care.